So what are the advantages of training in the aerobic zone or in the zone 2 intensities? One is increase of mitochondrial density. So when we increase mitochondrial density, the number of mitochondria increases, they become more efficient, and they also get closer to the cell wall, so that they are able to then grab the ingredients and oxygen off the blood in a more efficient manner. So therefore the density of the mitochondria is increased and their efficiency also increases, and therefore we are able to produce more energy quickly. Myoglobin are these proteins that are present in muscle tissue, which then stores and transports oxygen, and with an increase in myoglobin, then we are able to once again produce more ATP. ATP is the energy currency. We are able to produce more energy quickly. Angiogenesis is the increase in capillary density, and capillaries are like, if we take oxygenated blood that is pumped out of the heart and via arteries, it reaches the tissues in our body, and at that point the capillaries act as a go-between between the arteries and the tissues, and there is an exchange of oxygen to the tissues and an exchange back of carbon dioxide, which through the capillaries, which are then transferred to the veins, which then take that deoxygenated blood back to the heart, which then enters the pulmonary circulation, and that blood gets oxygenated, and through the arteries the heart then pumps the oxygenated blood to the muscle tissue. So this is the circulatory system. So an increase in capillary density helps in more efficiently getting the oxygen that's present in the blood, and so that way we can then produce more energy quickly. Hormonal adaptation: when we work at low intensities, less cortisol is produced. In some instances, it's been found that cortisol is even lowered working in these lower intensities, and as we know, accumulation of cortisol, especially in a chronic manner, is not a good thing. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone, and once again, it's not good to have a chronic accumulation of increase of cortisol in our body. It's never a good thing. And sometimes not only the intensity, we've always talked about intensity and what it of the activity or the exercise and what it does in our body so far, the lactate accumulation, then the cortisol, the increase in heart rate, things like that. But yet another factor in there, maybe the x-axis is the intensity, the y-axis is the lactate or the increase in heart rate or the amount of cortisol. But then there is yet another factor, maybe the z-axis or the z-axis, which should really talk about duration as well. So maybe for at a certain intensity of exercise, lactate does not build up for up to, let's say, for as an example, 30 minutes. But then if we drift from 30 to 45 minutes or perhaps more than that, then there is a cardiac drift. So the heart rate increases, the lactate probably goes up in the blood lactate amount goes up, so on and so forth. So that's another factor that one needs to keep in mind when we plan training for our athletes and even for our non-athletes. Fat as a fuel. At lower intensities, our body is able to use fat as fuel. Fat is more energy dense, as we know, than is carbohydrate. And our body is metabolically flexible, so to speak, to either use fat or carbohydrates for fuel. Now, in people who have metabolic disorders such as diabetes, they are not so efficient at using fat as fuel. One of the reasons being that there is an overload of insulin running around in the body for type 2 diabetic people. And insulin does not inhibits lipolysis. So fat is not being, our body is unable to use fat as fuel in the presence of a lot of insulin. So that's one of the reasons to keep working in the aerobic zone, to get our body metabolically flexible so that we are able to use fat as fuel. Now, this could also be used to reduce excess body fat, body weight. And as we will see later on, the longer the duration, more fat is also being used as fuel at lower intensities. Reduced risk of injury, that's kind of self-evident, because working at lower intensities, there is less risk of injury to the body. Reduced risk of overtraining. Now, working at higher intensities need more recovery time and effort, but working at lower intensities does not require specific recovery efforts. And in fact, working at, as we will see in the next bullet point, working at these aerobic intensities is used to increase recoveries. And drifting right into that point, so if we are talking about an interval session where we are having 4 minutes of high intensity exercise followed by 2, 3, 4 minutes of recovery, then doing activity in the aerobic zone is better. So that's called an active recovery rather than a passive recovery where the person is sitting, standing, or just lying on the ground. So doing some activity in the lower intensities in the aerobic zone, zone 2, zone 1, is much better for recovery and is known as active recovery than passive recoveries where the person is just resting completely. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notification whenever new videos are added. If you do find the content helpful, please like the video. That would be a great encouragement for us to put out more videos. Here are more similar content for you to check out. Thank you.